Playoff pool, this is now the second year in a row. I'm giving a crack at throwing out my opinions, sharing a few statistics, and some of the things I'm looking at for this pool. If you're interested, obviously you're here, so you might be partially interested. Now, some of you are in fantasy football pools that I run throughout the season, in which case, this is not the first time you've seen me on here. If this is the first time, oh, thanks for giving it a shot. But I'll try and keep it as brief as I can, because full disclosure, where I'm recording this is not where I'm going to be editing it. For most people that know me, I'm doing this on the Tuesday night, so the game's just finished this morning, East Asian time. I am flying with my basketball team tomorrow, so there's a phenomenal chance that this is recorded in Bangkok, started to be edited sometime on a plane, and finished when I get to Tokyo. Let's see if I'm successful, but I think the best way to go forward is to try and be brief, even though that's not my forte. We're going to do a couple things that I noticed from playoff weekend, and then we'll get right to our pool and some things that might be of interest to those trying to consider when you're going to make your move. Wildcard weekend came and went, and realistically, we did get, I guess, some games that count as upsets. I mean, 3 of the 6, in some way you could. We did have a 5 over a 4, which by numbers is. We had a 4 over a 5, but Vegas thought that was an upset, and I think most people, considering the number of people that actually picked Houston Texans, I'm guessing a lot of us considered that an upset too, but really only 1 in the conventional stance. Now, even the games that were kind of clinical, there was never really that much in doubt. I know there might be some Bills fans or Broncos fans out there that are throwing something at the, I was going to say TV, but phone, most likely. Yes, Denver went down and scored pretty easily, and then yes, maybe there was a seed of doubt, but come on. I don't think anyone was actually that concerned that Buffalo wouldn't turn around, and as soon as they did, a few minutes later, it became very obvious how that game was going to roll. So we kind of were left realizing that the NFL knows we'll just watch anything, and we follow through by watching not great football. Maybe there's some football purists out there that say, well, defensive football is great football. And that is true, but that's not why we play fantasy anything, right? I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say that most people in this pool were probably in some other kind of fantasy pool throughout the year. In fact, some of you were in ones with me or ones that I ran, which is why you might recognize these kinds of videos. I do think that carries over a little bit. We were also harsh on the Texans, and I have to wonder, maybe that's because you took some Texans that weren't mixing this year. Because if you had CJ Stroud, you probably have a bit of a vendetta. I love fantasy vendettas, and I love how that you can actually watch them develop. Weirdly enough, and this person is not in the league, I did have one of the leagues that I run have a final that came down to the person who lost, made the decision of starting the Indy Colts against the Giants. Seemed like a good idea. They got -3 points. Instead of Miami's defense against Cleveland, would have been a much better call, would have won them. I'm not saying this because anyone cares that much. I am saying it because I can guarantee you that person will never start the Colts defense again, or at least not for the next couple of years. So I'm wondering if that trickled over. Nobody in this league took CJ Stroud. No one really thought the Texans were going to do too much. We did have a couple people take Mixon and a couple take Nico, but they were one of, I'd say, especially since it was a 4-5 situation, one of the untouched or mostly untouched teams. We'll be curious to see if that rolls through. But the one conventional wildcard game, the one upset, did not only perform in having it down to the wire, it also had Chris Collinsworth throw out, unironically, the expression divisional doinker as we watched the bank be open for Gonzalez's field goal when he could have just gone straight for the net. Did add to excitement, kind of adds to the Washington lore, but moving ahead to next week, I think we're up for some much better games. Now, I do think Detroit kind of lost out on, well, I think they were probably happier in the long run not having to play Minnesota. I mean, no one has to play Minnesota anymore thanks to the Rams. But when Washington came through, I think the team that probably was the most upset would have been Philly. Their defense looks fine. Their offense looks meh. And if I'm them, I probably would have rather played Tampa Bay than McVay's anything, because realistically, Philly should go through, but I don't know. I don't think it'd be that much of an upset. But I would say most people are tuned to the AFC not to watch Kansas City, which apparently no one here really likes. Not one Mahomes pick this year, which is the first time. I've only ever run this pool a few times. And Kansas City often does get the first round bye. And usually a few people roll the dice with Mahomes. Nobody this year. I don't think too many people were watching the Texans game with a lot of anxiety on that one. But definitely the game of the week. Most excitable game of the week, I should say. Bills, Ravens. That's why they put it on the, Sunday nighter for us, Monday morninger, which I cannot wait. Most people probably can't relate to this particular part. Jake, Bills fan, work with them. I believe the game starts in the morning. We have full staff meetings in the morning. Can't wait to see how you work this one out, Jake. Mad respect. If you can, either wait the entire day, which I know you can, but can you dodge people who accidentally drop the score to you? Or B, sneak out and watch the game? Either way, nothing but respect. Anyway, you're probably more interested in how our pool went, and I do have a few random statistics to throw out, so let's shut me up now and jump over to the results of week 1 of our pool. Well, hopefully this has not confused too many people. I know I got to do my own spreadsheet. Yahoo doesn't have the pool just like I like it. Although if anyone out there knows of another scoring system that actually work, we could sign up to. I always think it's better because then you get the live scores. I did it as best I could. Please always go and check and make sure you think it looks consistent. I've already had a few people just kind of reach out to make sure I caught whether someone was on a buy or whatever. I don't mind because I'd rather you fact check it. I'd rather be right. So just give me a look-see on that one. We look all the way down from 1 to 23. I got to say a few shout outs. I mean, props to Bill, Corbin, Jake, and Nikki. You have all 12 left. Plus, if you remember the asterisks, technically you'll have 13. You didn't lose anyone in week 1, but if you actually look, and I do keep track of this in another one of my random stats, I have how many players you've actually kept and how many played, just to try and see a per person. I don't know, I'm weird like that, but I will say most people that had a lot probably had a lot of Lions and maybe even a couple Chiefs. So we'll see how that all breaks down. We also see some people near the top here who didn't lose too many. Just one isn't so bad. Now we do have our top 4 that have 9 left. They each lost 3, but they do have the potential of putting an extra one in. Now, full disclosure, I'm not telling anyone how to do this pool, but I should say just institutional knowledge. Some people do not subscribe to this, but I would say the most often ad drop is a quarterback. So they go until one of their quarterbacks are out and then they replace. And just to answer the question now, in case people are curious, yes, you have to replace position by position, and it is not a super flex. A flex is the running back, wide receiver, tight end combo. So if you want to replace a quarterback, it has to be with a quarterback. That goes down. You have to wait till they're out before they're in. Don't know if I explained that super well, but now we know. Just taking a look maybe at our couple, like our top 3. If we look at Jim's team, fairly well here, so I'm not trying to out it here, but we only have 2 extra Lions, which I think is fairly common. In fact, Gibbs, just for those who did the stats, all but one team took him. He's the most common player chosen. And if we look at our second place, where am I going here? That's Will on this side. I think it's Will 1. We know right away because one of them is doing well. Oop, nope, it's Will 2. He did lose 3. He did put it, I mean, all the people he went into. Ladd McConkey actually was our top receiver. Weirdly enough, our receivers actually didn't perform. Now, St. Brown is the most common taken receiver. Only a few people did not take him. But McConkey, only a few people invested, and the 25 is by far the most. In fact, of the receivers that were the most commonly picked, A.J. Brown, 16 teams had him, and he only got 1 point. Jefferson, 14 teams had him. He's the most common player to actually get knocked out when the Vikings went. Evans and McConkey both had 7 people. They're both out. So it is kind of interesting. Whereas running backs, and I just jumped over to Rushke here for those who want to see it, Henry was our top scorer with 30. Other than that, it was quarterbacks, Lamar and Allen being the top 2. So I think that has a big reason as to why Rushke stayed on top. He also did take Jacobs, who was the top running back that wasn't our big 3. Cook he tied with Barkley and Henry, and I would say Barkley is also one of the most common, but 11. Actually, the number of people that took Barkley, Gibbs, Henry, and Cook, those were by far the top 4. Jacobs was next, so he's the running back that the most people took that got knocked out. Bucky did quite well. I think only 5 people took him, but those 5 people were at least happy they got some points out of him before he bowed out. So Rushke looks pretty good here, only 3 down, but he has 3 to replace, so things should be okay. If we kind of go back to our board here, I do also, aside from keeping this, I do keep our top scores. So just so you can take a quick look, I put everyone on just so you can kind of see. I add and see who we've missed. Weirdly enough, Wilson would have gotten you some points, but obviously he's out. One person has Daniels. That was me, 25. Pretty happy with that. Hurts is the third most common after our fourth, because actually we have a bye week. Darnold was our next. In terms of running back, like I said, we had Henry, then we had the Cook-Jacobs combo. Mixon, a few of you out there took him, not too many, but he is someone who at least got you points if you did take him, and he lasted an extra week, so good for you, whereas Williams from the Rams did quite well as well. Like I said, the wide receiver is kind of tough. Nico Collins, only a few people took him, but those who did, congratulations, you got another week out of him, so he is the best receiver who still remains. And if you kind of take a look, I've done some short forms here in our top 10, almost as many were not taken as were McLaurin. Some people took Evans, Nico, McConkey. That's it, actually. So a lot of people who scored quite high did not get taken at all. Now, is that going to change in week 2? Probably. I'd say moving forward, like I said, I'll be taking a look to see who wants to add and drop, just to say it here, and I'll maybe say it again in the email just so you're sure. If you'd like to make your drop or your add to someone who has fallen, you need to just send me an email. If you send me an email and I don't see in the heading that it is not a move, I probably won't read it until Saturday. I like to hold it off, so I don't even know who you're going to pick until I've made my decisions, although I will state right now, I am not in either one of my teams. The Dogs are my Embody and Atari returning champions, but they're my second team. I'm not adding anybody, so I guess in this particular week, since I've said that, I can, but I will not change the spreadsheet until the first kickoff. You have until the first kickoff to add. Even if your person is not involved in that game, I try and cut it off then, just so there's no advantage. I will add if I'm able to, as soon as the first kickoff happens, or my first time being online since then, I will make any ads and I will send an email out to let you know. So if you're just trying to go up and see who is who, trying to make some climbs, I'd say right now it's pretty close enough, but when we get to the future rounds, who you're chasing becomes almost as important as who you have. Hopefully that was helpful in terms of a quick spreadsheet. If you have any questions on the spreadsheet, please let me know. But like I said, also let me know if you want to make a move, ideally sooner than later. I leave that up to you. If you made it this far, why not 1 minute further? I will be throwing out a few things on the email in terms of the cash breakdown. Spoiler alert, top 4 are going to get it, and I kind of alluded to that in one of my previous messages, but I'll put it in writing so everybody knows. Also, I'm going to try and do, regardless of how many people actually watch this thing, I'll try and do a round 2. I should have enough time, but I will be threading the needle. Not only do I return from a basketball trip, I actually leave for another one on Wednesday, so I'm going to have a small window, but I think I can hit it. Anyway, thanks for watching, or at least making it this far, whether it was on normal speed or 1.5, and best of luck in round 2, the divisional round, everybody.